Hey everyone, I'm Ian Douglas, the author of the website techinterview.guide. I do live streams every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern about topics relevant to interview preparation for the tech industry. I occasionally record longer Q&A sessions, and I've started to break those into smaller videos to post. And there'll be information at the end of this video about how to get in contact with me if you have additional questions. Let's get to it. Going back to a theme that we just had a minute ago, should you keep coding on the side if you have a job? If you're able to, I think it's important, especially in the tech industry, to keep growing your skills and keep finding things that interest you. Whether you have the time and the ability and the energy and the privilege to work on a side project varies greatly from person to person. And so you may not have time to actually go and work on a side project. If you do, great, do it if you can. But if you can't, it's not a big deal, but it will be a little bit harder to kind of grow and advance in your career if you want to go learn something else and take your career in a different kind of direction than the kind of skill that you're using. So as an example, let's say I've got a full-time job as a Ruby on Rails developer, but I really want to get into mobile development. Well, if I don't go practice mobile development and I don't go explore mobile development, I don't start tinkering with that, it's going to be a lot harder for me to go apply for a job and say, hey, I'm this Ruby on Rails developer, but I really want to, get into Android development. They're going to look at my resume and go, well, you don't do Android development, so why would I hire you for the role? It becomes a much harder sell to them to convince them how you're going to transfer that knowledge. It's not impossible, but it is harder to do. Companies want to hire people that have at least some amount of skill. And I think that you need to have some means of showing them why or how you're going to transfer that knowledge into this other area if you're going to start to take your career in that other direction. So should you keep coding? I think it's important to just constantly grow. If you sign up for a job in tech, you're signing up for lifelong learning. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think that it's a thing where you can't just learn one language, one framework, and that's going to do you for the rest of your career, especially if you're young. If you're older in life, the rest of your career is going to be a shorter amount of time than for others. But if you're new at this and you're just out of college or you're just out of a boot camp and you're still in your 20s or early 30s, you got a long career ahead of you. And if you don't continue to learn, then your skills are going to get stale. And there are pros and cons to that. You're going to get very, very good at that one particular technology and that one particular stack, but fewer companies are going to be looking for that expertise in that area because you fill a much smaller sort of need on their team than someone who can do a lot of things. And so I kind of go back to an illustration of a Swiss Army knife that, it's got all the different gadgets and gizmos on the knife. That's the kind of engineer that I wanted to be in my career. And so I've learned to do a lot of things. I'm not particularly the best person for database maintenance. I'm not particularly the best person for DevOps. I'm not the best person for front-end development. But I can do some things really well. Back-end, I'm actually really good. Scalability, I'm actually pretty good. Architecture, I'm really good. These are things that I've gone really deep in my knowledge. I've got, a lot more depth of knowledge in those things. But I can fill the gaps on a lot of other topics. I can write code in a lot of different languages and so on, because that's the kind of engineer that I wanted to be. And so that's how I've focused my time. So, should I also keep coding on the side? Well, there are a lot of things that I've been interested in as well. I wanted to get into data analytics and data engineering and learn more about data pipelining. And I started actually taking some courses in that. But then life got busy, work got busy, and I had to drop it. I just couldn't continue it. And it's unfortunate when that happens because, I recognize that this is something where I don't want my own skills to get stale, but I've also got to find time to sort of carve out, a small block of time to keep growing and learning those kinds of things too. So should you keep coding? Yes. Does it have to be on the side if you have a job? I think is kind of where I'd split that question into two parts. Should you always keep learning? Absolutely. Should you do it as a side project if you've already got a full-time job? If you can, but I think that there's a balance to strike. So don't put in 40, 50 hours at your job and put in 40 or 50 hours on a side project and completely burn yourself out. That's not worth it. So you got to do what's right for you and what's right for your career and the direction that you want to take your career. Hey, thanks for watching. I love helping people out with interview prep, and I hope this video helped you in some way. If you found this Q&A useful, please consider subscribing. You can follow me on Twitch as well for the live stream twice a week. Check out techinterview.guide/streaming for more information. I also have a daily email series that you can subscribe to on the website. There are never any ads, and when you finish the series, I scrub your information out of my database permanently. Finally, if you have a question that you'd like answered on the stream, you can find my contact info on techinterview.guide. I prefer LinkedIn or email. If you leave your question in a YouTube comment, it might take me longer to find it, but I'll see you next time.